So we have a funny story as it pertains to defund the police. Alyssa Milano.
Oh boy,
she called the cops. She's tweeted kind of a lot about defunding the police, and she like apparently tweeted out a petition telling people like join me in defunding the police and hashtag defund the police. And then when a small teenager was near her neighborhood, simply shooting squirrels with an air gun. Which is kind of weird. I mean, like that. But anyway, she called.
You didn't do that, Tim? You didn't go around killing squirrels in your neighborhood?
Well, I mean, is an airsoft gun gonna hurt?
Oh, was it an airsoft gun or like
because
I know BB guns are sometimes called air guns,
right?
Pellet guns. So it was just airsoft.
As it was an airsoft, right?
Take its eye out.
Let's double check.
They say air gun. Right? Air gun.
Yeah, you never actually know.
Okay, if they're saying air gun, that could be like a 22 pellet break barrel. I mean, I think that is because apparently she heard the shots and she got scared.
Yeah.
And I don't think an airsoft gun would make a loud enough noise, like the little plastic pellets.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Why was he shooting squirrels?
Or maybe she heard the noises of the squirrels screaming out in agony, and that's what scared her.
I think we should keep an eye on this kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I hear that.
Something about
we should call a social worker for him.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, quite literally, they should have. Well, no, that is a problem because the kid had an air gun.
Yeah.
But so she calls the cops, and now people are calling her a hypocrite because she's all about defund the police, right? Mm-hmm. And this was a kid who was shooting squirrels, which is really weird.
I don't know. I mean, people.
Is that normal?
It's kind of a contextual thing because, like, if you were hunting small game in the woods with an air gun, that wouldn't be weird. But like, I guess he is just going through his neighborhood. Like, I guess shooting squirrels with an air gun is not totally unheard of or like crazy, but to do it in your neighborhood is maybe kind of a weird thing to do. Yeah.
I don't know if it was in his neighborhood. Apparently, he was like walking around various properties. Just like,
that's weird. That's
Taking
pretty
out
weird.
some
Yeah,
aggression.
that's pretty weird.
But
that's
so
weird.
I'll tell you what, man. Do you think she was justified in calling the police if she heard a loud shot and then saw somebody carrying a long gun?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on like what kind of air gun we're talking here. If it was really obvious it was a toy, then maybe not. I definitely understand it, especially if she didn't know the parents. But, a situation like that can get out of hand. And if you're against police intervention in virtually everything and you think folks need to be solving their problems on their own, obviously there's like a bit of hypocrisy there.
I'll be fair to her, though. So she has this tweet where when she was talking about defunding the police, she posts a photo of an MRAP. And she says, we've militarized the police. So could it be that I think
I agree with that, by the way.
Right, I do too. So that's why I want to make sure I'm being fair to Alyssa Milano.
Yeah.
And it's not. I think she was justified in calling the cops if she's a high profile individual and someone's walking around with a weapon.
Yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily hypocritical to say that the police have been militarized in many areas they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And then to want to call a couple sheriffs to come and deal with someone walking around your property who's armed with a long gun.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The bigger problem with this story is how defund the police doesn't mean anything.
Also true.
Define defund the police.
You're right, because what it sounds like is I don't like the way that guy runs, so I want to take his shoes away to punish him and make him, and somehow that's going to make him a better runner.
Well,
you defund the cops.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I think the talking point you used to hear was that we need to train the police more properly or better, which is something I would agree with. I don't know how that's compatible with defunding the police.
Exactly.
So I have
police.
One of my best buds. He's a former police officer, and he also served in the military in both Iraq and Afghanistan. So he told me, and again, this is his experience. This is anecdotal. But he told me based on his experience and how well he was trained with a firearm, most police officers were not that great a shot and didn't train with their handguns often enough.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So I was actually told something really scary once in New York by somebody with I'll just call it a source who had knowledge of the NYPD. They didn't work for the NYPD. They worked in a legal capacity and they had done litigation with the police. They said this. They're like, you ever see Fight Club?
No.
You've never seen Fight Club?
It's been spoiled for me though, so
that's fine. It's fine. Yeah, there's a scene where the main character, I guess Edward Norton's character, we call him Jack. He's on a plane and he's explaining how he works as like this insurance, like cost prevention or whatever is, I don't know, cost analysis guy. He said, if the cost of the lawsuits are less, basically the idea is if lawsuits are more expensive than the actual, or no. They won't recall a car if it kills people if they can save money. That's the gist of it.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm forgetting the formula and I'm trying to say it. I can't do it. But the general idea was this. So I was talking to this guy and he said, you ever seen Fight Club? And I was like, for sure. And he goes, okay, if the cost of training police is more expensive than the cost of the lawsuits, they don't train the police.
Wow.
So when the cops go out, because he's like, how often do cops actually use their firearms? Rarely.
Very rare.
Very rarely.
Very rare.
So if they're going to train every single cop properly and have them re-up and do all the stuff, and they rarely ever use the gun, that seems like a big waste of money for the city. Now, if they go off and they have to use it and they fire randomly because they don't know how to actually use it and they hit a bunch of people, how much we got to pay? Training all the cops could cost $50 million. The lawsuits cost $30. We don't train the cops.
That's fascinating.
Andrew,
Well, I got to clarify that.
Yeah, I
guy
have to think about that.
He didn't work for the police.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
was just
So
explaining like litigation.
That's why I'm saying it's fascinating. Like, I can't confirm or deny that, but it's certainly interesting. I know that. So a number of my uncles were police officers on the south side of Chicago, and one thing they would complain about was the fact that defense attorneys will also tell their clients in many circumstances to just file a complaint against a police officer, whether or not it's valid, because it can be easier to get them out of trouble. And if you get enough of your clients to accuse enough police officers, then the accusations start to build up and each accusation becomes more credible, and it's much easier for you as a defense attorney or a criminal defense attorney to do your job.
Think about activists that do that. It's like, hey, accuse that guy of whatever so that we can get him fired.
Exactly.
Take his job away, destabilize the department.
Yeah, like the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so there's a viral tweet where they're talking about the Supreme Court, and someone said something like 25% of the Supreme Court have credible accusations against them.
Yeah, what is credible mean in this
allegations
context,
or whatever.
yeah.
And I'm like, I accuse you of stealing my orange.
Yeah.
Good sir, harumph.
And that's actually true. I did steal an orange earlier.
Dirty.
Yeah, I know.
Thief.
I know.
You're a thief.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Well, so you confess.
Yeah.
No, but the point is,
like,
I can accuse you of anything. Sir, I accuse you of TPing a tree in front of my house.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? That's ridiculous. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
You know,
and that's
I
the
accused you.
Well, one problem I think is that people that do false accusations, they don't get in much trouble afterwards. I mean, they might get in a little, but like if someone falsely accuses you of murder and you have to go through, the ringer, and then it turns out it was wrong, I don't get charged for murder.
Yeah,
I don't have to
exactly.
face the punishment.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Part of it's complicated because, like, when you look at Christine Blasey Ford, for example, when I made my comment, what I'm not trying to get at is that she was necessarily lying, but the evidence really does not hold up what she's saying. It's possible she was confused. It's possible she didn't have ill will, but the people who were running with it were clearly running with it for reasons of political convenience.
Nah, man. Nah.
You don't think so?
Dude, she said she was scared to fly. And then she was asked, you flew to these island vacations? She's like, yes.
So you think she was just lying?
My personal opinion, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but the point is the accusations against Kavanaugh held no water.
Listen, it's amazing how many people are scared to just say she's a liar. Conservatives, for the most part, have no problem doing it. But it's like, come on, dude. 30-year-old allegation. She didn't know where it was. She didn't know how she got there. She had no witnesses. Nothing backed her up.
No, I agree. I agree with all that.
No one agreed. Even her friends were like, what is she talking about?
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Then she was like, I was so traumatized, I installed a second door to my home. And then they were like, actually, that was the Airbnb you set up.
Yeah.
I'm actually traumatized and scared to fly. Do you fly? Yes. Did you fly recently? Yes. How far did you fly? Thousands of miles. You're flying on cross country. She flew to New Zealand or something. I don't know the exact where she flew, but it's like, how is that she's able to say these things and no one did an investigation because it's clear that she's lying?
No, I mean, I'm just giving her an extreme benefit of the doubt. All of that's very compelling, and I understand where you're coming from. And again, I agree that the accusations were, like you said, contradicted by the evidence. I'm just careful to call anybody a liar.
That's a good point. That's a good point. She could be unwell.
Yeah, that was mostly my thought, is that she's a mentally ill person.
And I've been saying this a lot, man, that Antifa preys upon these people. There's actually a really interesting story we got to talk about. I talked about this on my 1 p.m. segment. You know what gang stalking is?
No.
Gang stalking is this paranoid delusion that people have where they think like operatives or agents are always spying on them.
Interesting.
And they'll think you're a spy. You'll meet them and they'll look at you and they'll be like, are you one of them? Say yes or no.
Oh.
And you'll be like, excuse me, you are. And they're like, so
that's actually really sad.
They tell their friends and family, someone's spying on me, and they'll say, where? And like, there's a camera in my house. I'm telling you, it's in the light. I know it's there. They think around every corner there's an agent or an operative. The New York Times wrote about this. And what's really interesting is that they talk about how after 9/11, this skyrocketed, this view of agents and gang stalking. And they use the internet to find like-minded people who experience the same thing, to form collectives, to take action over a shared delusion, even though they all contradict each other and it seems to make no sense.
Wow.
What's interesting about this is that when you take that concept, after 9/11, all these people thought they were being spied on by the government. Patriot Act, NSA, all that stuff, right? Now you have in the mainstream media all this talk about fascists and white supremacists, and what do we get? fascists are stalking me. I'm not even exaggerating.
No, I believe it.
It was Jonathan Kay of Quillette who tweeted about this, and I thought it was really insightful. I was like, well, I never thought about that. Because they had this woman who was claiming that someone broke into her car, and it was clearly a white supremacist who was harassing her and stalking her because she's an activist. And tons of other people started tweeting the same things. Yes, they're stalking me and harassing me. Then you look at what Andy Ngo does, right? Andy Ngo covers the people who get arrested. He covers the protests and the riots. And he says, like, this person got arrested for felony arson, blah, blah, blah. And then they start saying that he's feeding the white supremacists our information. And it's gang stalking. It's the same thing. They think that the person around the corner is a fascist. They're everywhere. They literally think there's millions of people. It sounds like a shared paranoid delusion these people are experiencing. There are no white supremacists. There's like, in this country of 328 million, there's estimated, like a high estimate is like 11,000, according to like the Anti-Defamation League or some of these organizations. So they're not stalking you, but they believe it. So you have Antifa targeting people who are unwell, who think these things are true, using them to do things to benefit them, convincing them to commit crimes, convincing them to hurt people, and they go around and they do it. And they're justified because they all share this delusion. So if someone says, I swear, fascist was following me too, then it must be true.
Isn't that one guy that killed the dude? You know what I'm talking about? The guy was wearing a MAGA hat or something. And
he said my friend was in danger. I had to kill him.
And I was surrounded. Yes. I was surrounded. There were cars with, that guy, Michael Reinl. He said to Vice News that there were cars all around with Trump supporters with weapons. That dude was he probably had one of these like paranoid delusion of gang stalking things going on.
I think people that think they've been abducted by aliens also are experiencing that.
Some kind of paranoid delusional psychosis or whatever. And then here's what happens. You get someone who's sitting there shaking, being like, they're everywhere. And you go, they are, but they're not agents. They're actually fascists. They are? Yeah, trust me. I see them too. You're the only one who believes me. That's right. Come with me. Take this. Now throw it at that building. And they do. And then guess who gets arrested? Not the guy who handed the explosive, the guy who threw the explosive. They use these people. And so, we're talking about Christine Blasey Ford. I'm not, for all we know that she was just she's an unwell person.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, it really did happen. Don't you remember? It did. She's like, it did. And then when they actually scrutinized her and she didn't have people telling her, she's just like, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. No. All the witnesses denied it. Ultimately, I think she was just lying. I mean, that's a simple solution, right? Look, Occam's razor suggests the simple solution tends to be the correct one. That's not a law. That's just something people point out. It doesn't necessarily mean that in every circumstance you can say it's true, and doesn't mean he ever actually mathematically tested it, because you can't really. But it is an idea that I think most of us agree upon. Don't take things too far. It's probably just, more simple than that. Simple solution here is she's lied. They want to stop Brett Kavanaugh by any means necessary. They accused him. He was already vetted, right?
Yeah.
So Brett Kavanaugh was a federal judge, which means he went through the vetting process and the confirmation process. They were going through it again. And then all of a sudden, 30-year-old vague nebulous stories start popping up.
But it's also possible that they were both 18 and blackout drunk, and she vaguely remembers
That's not what she said.
Getting forced.
I don't think she said they were drunk, right?
I don't remember.
I don't remember all the specifics
She
anymore.
said
It's been
that
quite a while. I just remember there wasn't a lot of evidence, and the media was completely on her side.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. She said that she was at a party at someone's house, and Brett Kavanaugh and his friend went upstairs, and she went with them, and then he pinned her on the bed and jumped on top of her, and then she was like panicking, and then his friend jumped on him, and they rolled over, and then she got up and ran away. That was it. And then from that, what did we get? Accusations that Brett Kavanaugh was contributing to drugging women and keeping them in rooms where men would line up outside the door taking turns, and it's like, whoa,
it's so insane. And then
then
they held up a picture of him making a really icky face when he was called a rapist for several hours, and they're like, look at this man's face.
Yep.
Does this look like the face of a man who isn't a rapist? And that was kind of what they were going on. That was the face plastered on everything.
It was him like crying.
Yeah.
It was his face like he was about to cry.
Which is reasonable.
But they make it look like he's snarling. Jeez, man. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.